Hi guys, today we're talking about Grim Finance, the $30 million exploit hack that happened about 12 hours ago now. And everyone's talking about this. A couple of people have reached out to me already that lost funds. Regardless of whether you were involved or not, I think there's lots to talk about. Everyone should be aware of this because these exploits happen on a regular basis. And yes, maybe this wasn't you, but the next one could be. Right, so you want to know what's going on, and there are also some practical steps that you can take to reduce risk, and I'll be talking about those at the end. Now, what is Grim Finance? For those of you who don't know, it's on Phantom, and it's a yield optimizer. It's a auto-compounding vaults, right? So it's quite similar to Beefy Finance. In fact, Grim Finance was originally a fork of Beefy Finance, but they added in their own code as well. And the exploit happened on the code, the proprietary code for Grim. So Beefy's fine, don't worry about that. There's also Reaper on Phantom, Reaper vaults, and those also seem fine. It's only Grim that's affected so far with this. This is the interface when you go into Grim, and you can see here that it's very simple. You just have these vaults. The deposits are all paused on them right now. But before the exploit, you would just come in, you would deposit your LP token or your single-sided token, and it would auto compound for you at a slightly higher rate, perhaps sometimes a much higher rate than if you were doing that manually, and you save time, right? So it's got a pretty strong value proposition, but there is risk because with these vaults, what you're actually doing is you're putting your tokens into the vault in the smart contract. They're no longer in your wallet. So that is where the risk lies, because what the hacker did was come in and drain those vaults, and yeah, there's nothing you can really do. The tokens are not in your wallet anymore. This is the address of the hacker, which has already been marked on Phantom Scan here as reported as being involved in an exploit. And you can see here, these are some of the actions they were taking 10 hours ago to drain the vaults, 1 million Phantom, 1 million Phantom, 1 million Phantom, and so on. So this is I'll leave this in the notes, and you can check this to see exactly what happened. Of course, the native token of Grim Finance, which is Grim, this is on the 1 hour chart here for Grim USD, took an absolute plummet, went all the way down when this happened. It is recovering now a little bit, but yeah, it's been quite a serious fall there, I guess you could say. Now, the interesting thing I found with Grim Finance in their official documentation, where they actually say that they're a fork of Beefy Finance, but you've got this brief introduction to what is Grim, but then straight away, number 2, you have Solidity Finance audit. We take fund safety seriously at Grim Finance. The following contracts have been audited by Solidity. So that is very interesting. One of the things you would look for if you want to be safe, right? If you want to reduce risk, of course, you say, okay, I'm going to only put my money into protocols that have been audited. Well, if that's your rule of thumb, I'm sorry to say you would have been caught out here. Grim was audited and it still got hacked. What were the details? Let's have a look. This is Rugdoc talking about the hack here and giving some details on Twitter about what happened. Also, Grim Finance themselves came out with some official statement, I guess you could say, some official tweets, perhaps, where they listed what happened as well. And it comes down to this thing called where is it? Grim Finance was just exploited through a re-entrancy vector, right? So re-entrancy is the key word here. A before-after pattern without re-entrancy guard. This is a big no-no. Okay, so re-entrancy, my very basic understanding of it is it's a way to exploit, to trick the contract into thinking that there's more in the actual vault than there is. So I know I'm not technical enough to understand the full details of it, but that's a very basic my very basic understanding of it. But anyway, it's a re-entrancy attack. These things are sort of like categorized, and people know that this is something that you should be looking out for on contracts, it seems. And most interestingly, Solidity Finance, who did the audit, actually list in their Grim Finance token and Vault smart contract audit report, they actually list down here, re-entrancy guard is used in relevant locations to preempt re-entrancy attacks. So that looks pretty bad, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I'm not technical enough to assess the how accurate this is, or there may be a very legitimate reason why the audit did not pick up on this. But from a layman looking at this, I'm seeing that the audit actually lists this as being something that was checked and that there were guards in place to stop this. And yet, when it actually came down to it, the exploit shows that there were no guards stopping this. So I don't know why that is, but it looks pretty bad right now. Solidity Finance, I think, should make some kind of statement as well. This, it's not good. It's not good. But broadly speaking, I think the lesson here is that an audit doesn't mean nothing. I mean, I wouldn't go that far as to say audits are useless. Certainly, it's better to have an audit than not have one. It is a plus. It can give you some level of confidence, but it's not infallible by any means, right? So that's the lesson here. And it's not just Solidity. I think Popsicle Finance, who was that? I think it was PeckShield, right? PeckShield audited them and then it still got exploited, right? So, these things happen on a regular basis. Don't mean that an audit, the lesson here is that an audit does not mean it's 100% safe by any means. Now, if you look at the data here on Grim Finance, you can see that total number of users for Grim Finance is almost 20,000. And as you can expect here, there's a lot of activity happened in the last day or so because of this hack. But yeah, that gives you some idea of the total number of people that could have been exposed to this. And the activity on the account shows how many of those users have yet to do anything. They may not be. It's not clear whether that total users is active users. And if it's active, monthly active, weekly active, I don't know. But anyway, you can also see on DeFi Llama with the TVL for Grim Finance here, it was almost at 100 million, and now it's gone down to 28 million. It's a huge drop there, right? Huge drop. And you can confirm that here. Yeah, it's gone even lower, right? It's down to 24. So yeah, that's quite something there. Also, I want to talk about Tomb because Tomb, as I mentioned, was kind of involved. A lot of people had their Tomb stored on Grim, and you can see that Tomb is currently below peg. It's currently below peg because Tomb Finance, the Tomb token, took a huge dive here when this hack happened. This is kind of a stress test for Tomb Finance to some degree. And the good news is that it passed the stress test, right? Like the price did recover, and now Tomb is below peg, but it's only just below peg, right? But when the hack happened, it was way down here. Now, this was a great trading opportunity. You could have made 20% if you came in here, right? But I think the bigger lesson here is that Tomb Finance actually kept going when this hack happened. So that's great news for them, because they did actually in their documentation list Grim Finance as an ecosystem partner, and it's in the official documentation. They did not list Reaper. Reaper offers basically the same service, but they only listed Grim. So that's a tacit endorsement of Grim, not an official endorsement, but a tacit one. And so, yeah, the reputation of Tomb is, I believe, also on the line with this hack. Certainly the reputation of the Phantom ecosystem is also at stake here, right? So the good news also is that in the Discord for Grim Finance, the mods here are, I picked this up from a few hours ago. They're saying, we want our community to know there will be a compensation plan announced and laid out. Now, whether it be a full compensation, we don't know yet. 30 million is a lot of money. However, it seems to be that I think the Phantom ecosystem, and particularly the tacit endorsement of Tomb Finance, means, and that obviously Tomb is backed by Harry Yeh, so that for something like this, they need to make it good. I think if they don't, it would have some pretty big knock-on effects for trust in Phantom, trust in Tomb, trust in Harry even. Regardless, obviously it's not the fault of Harry. It's not the fault of any of these the people. It's Grim that's at fault here, and perhaps Solidity as well. And certainly, this obviously the hacker is the one that is doing all the bad stuff. But something like this happening, I think it does need to be dealt with. There does need to be compensation. I think it's something that if they don't do that, then it's going to be, pretty bad for the ecosystem. And if they do that, if they do make it good, then it's a big plus. Actually, it's a big bonus. Harry here, this is a transaction that he tweeted out where he's bought over $2 million worth of T-bond. That's Harry letting us know that he is protecting the peg. Right, so it's kind of just a gesture, I think. Right, 2 million for Harry is not that much, but do remember that there's 700 million here locked in Tomb Finance. So 2 million it's enough. I think it's enough to let people know that this peg is being defended. So I don't expect there to be anything major that happens because of this for Tomb. And in fact, I think there's an opportunity for them to turn a negative into a positive by making this good again and offering compensation. Now, a practical advice for what you could do if you wanted to avoid exposure to these type of things is to actually revoke the approval for contracts. And you can do that there's a couple of places I want to show. One of them is Hyperjump and one of them is DBank. I think DBank is actually the better one, but I'll show you both. DBank, if you go into profile here and go to the network, and this is for Avalanche, right? And then go to approval here on this thing. Await portfolio is the default, right? So to click through to approval, you can actually see the contracts that you have approved to interact with your wallet and the amount, right? Same here, unlimited or limited is the two types of approval. This is just a test account that I use, a small test account. So there's not much in here, and it's only been used a little bit here on Trader Joe. But if I wanted to, if I connect up to Avalanche here, I can revoke Trader Joe's approval for interaction with Tether, right? Now, Trader Joe's okay. I don't think Trader Joe is obviously a pretty high trust in that. But you can see here through hyperlink I've got a ton of different authorizations here for all kinds of things on this other test account. And so you might want to go in, especially if it's Phantom, revoking these authorities to spend your tokens from different smart contracts. It's cheap to do, right? It's not like Ethereum. You can just go in and just revoke all these pretty easily. And so I'll leave links for these down below. And I would suggest that if you've ever used Grim Finance, then definitely you want to go in and revoke the approvals for those contracts using either Hyperjump or DBank. And just in general, you might want to go in and clean up, especially if you only use one or two accounts, right? You have a bit for big wallets. If you've got a lot of approvals on them, you want to check that every so often just tidy it up and make sure that you haven't got too many approvals on there. Now, for something like this, I don't have any Tether in there right now in this account. So even if Trader Joe was hacked, it wouldn't really matter. It's got an approval for Tether. I have no Tether in the account. So you might think, well, this doesn't matter. But it might be the case that later on, I just put some Tether in there, forget that I have this approval, Trader Joe gets hacked, and then they can actually they can still interact with my wallet for Tether. So when you're dealing with so many different protocols on a daily basis, right? You're aping in and out of all different kinds of things. It does get messy. It really does get messy. So I think that's a really top tip here for cleaning up the approvals. I like using DBank. I think DBank's pretty nice. In fact, I would say DBank is fast becoming my favorite portfolio tracker tool. I think it is. I think it's better than the others, actually, to be honest. But that's just my personal opinion. You use what you want to use. Anyway, I'll finish it up for the video here. Like and subscribe, follow on Twitter, get in the Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Stay safe out there, okay?